So as you all very well know, Julius Randle has suffered an ankle injury and as a result has been sidelined for the next 2 weeks, possibly the first round of the playoffs, the first few games of the first round. And what I'm going to talk about in this video today is how successful can this Knicks team actually be without Julius Randle in the mix, and also get into the fact that other players may actually have a chance to thrive in his absence. But first, what we're going to do is take a look at an article from clutchpoints.com highlighting the Knicks' plan to replace Julius Randle for the time being, and what are some other details of when we're expecting to have him back. Now, the Knicks suffered a huge blow learning about the severity of Julius Randle's injury. It was reported on Thursday that the two-time All-Star is going to be sidelined for at least 2 weeks after being diagnosed with a sprained ankle. And at this point, the Knicks have no other choice but to plan ahead without Randle in the mix. Now, this is sort of identical to last season. If you guys remember, Julius Randle had an injury as well, and he was out for the last week or so of the season last season. And what do we see happen in Julius Randle's absence? We saw the emergence of Obi Toppin and Emmanuel quickly go berserk. I believe there were a couple of extreme games where they had back-to-back almost 40-point performances. So we've seen the Knicks be capable of maintaining or even surpassing the current play that they're having right now without Julius Randle obviously being in the fold. Now, with Julius Randle out, obviously that gives other guys a chance to thrive on the team, specifically Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett. But before I get into what benefits we could possibly have without Randle, by no means am I saying that the Knicks do not need Julius Randle. If the Knicks are going to have any type of success in this playoffs this season, they're obviously going to need Julius Randle to do what he does and do what he has been doing overall this entire season, minus the insane behavior, obviously, yelling at teammates, keep that energy for the opposing players. But, I would be telling a lie if I said that, we wouldn't need Julius Randle to give us the production that he's been giving us thus far. But with that being said, we need to also understand the fact that the Knicks play an entirely different brand of basketball without Julius Randle in the mix. And what we've seen last game against the Cavaliers, the other game against the Houston Rockets, we've seen that this Knicks team is fully capable of maintaining their success and may possibly surpass the current success that we've had with this team so far this season. Now, what I want to do next is take a look at something that Tom Thibodeau said in terms of Obi Toppin being a replacement for Julius Randle. So Thibodeau says whether he starts or comes off the bench, just get in there and play to your strengths. I have a lot of confidence in him. Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau said of Obi Toppin before the game, and I think he's going to play well. Now, obviously, we know very well how Tom Thibodeau feels about Obi Toppin. He is not a big fan of Obi Toppin, so when he's talking about Obi's strengths, he's giving him compliments. I don't think he's lying per se, but I just think that he's doing what a coach does, right? He's almost gaslighting the audience into believing that he's going to give Obi Toppin a legitimate chance. But if we look at the last game and, very impressive victory for the Knicks against the Cavaliers, a team that we're expecting to play in the first round. Look at the minutes distribution, even with Julius Randle out of the equation, right? This is not Julius Randle playing the first quarter and going out for the rest of the game, right? This is no Julius Randle at all. And as we can see, Obi Toppin still can't even crack 20 minutes. He's only clocked in at 19. So for Tom Thibodeau to go on this whole thing about utilizing him for his strengths, I'm quite doubtful. I just think that he's trying to find any reason to get the audience off of him, because now that Obi Toppin is in the game as a starter, there's no way around putting, any sort of deflection against why he's not playing. So if he's going to start, give him starters minutes. And so far what we have been seeing is a good level of production. Now, he was in the minus, Obi Toppin, for this last game, but very efficient from the field, 5 for 7 from the field goal and 2 for 2 from 3. So very efficient there. And this is just a glimpse of what Obi Toppin is capable of doing. Again, going back to last season, same predicament. Julius Randle being out the last few games, and we saw the type of production that Obi Toppin can give us given a fair chance. Now, going back to the New York Post article, getting into a little bit more of what Thibodeau said, he just factors in, Thibodeau said of Toppin, it's okay what Obi does so well. So he runs the floor. He's good at moving the ball side to side. He's good with dribble handoffs. There's a lot of things that he brings. He's a quick decision maker. So we want to take advantage of that part of it. Obi's played with the starters before, so just get in there and play to your strengths. But, of course, he has to throw some shade after all of these compliments. But put the team first and cover up your weaknesses. So there you have it. That's how Tom Thibodeau really feels about Obi Toppin. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's things about Obi's game that I think he still needs to work on. Being a 3-year vet into the league already, I believe there are some things that, as a professional basketball player, you should not be making these type of mistakes anymore. And, it seems that anytime Obi Toppin is out there, he seems to make some, rookie mistakes. But I'm going to give Obi a pass just on the strength that the type of minutes that he's getting, he's not able to really get into a rhythm. So he sort of duplicates these problems because he's in, he's out. He's in, he's out. He makes a mistake, he's out of there. So he's never really been given a fair chance to actually learn in real time and, obviously adjust to the flow of the game, given the fact that he's not playing that much anyway. But going back to the absence of Randle, right? So one thing that is definitely different about Randle's absence this time around compared to the last few games last season is the fact that we have Jalen Brunson out there, a floor general who can definitely make things happen. Now, if we're talking about a lineup of Jalen Brunson, Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, and essentially Obi Toppin is replacing the role of Julius Randle, that is going to make the outlook a little different than what we're expected usually, given when Julius Randle is jacking up shots left and right. It's going to be a more team-centric offense and a better balance, giving guys like, obviously, again, Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett a better chance to be more productive. But what I want to do next here is take a look at what Ian Begley said about this whole situation with Julius Randle being out and obviously Obi Toppin having an opportunity. So let's hear what Ian Begley has to say about this.
Tough news for the Knicks. We learned on Thursday that Julius Randle will be out at least 2 weeks due to an ankle sprain. We knew the ankle sprain was significant based on how Randle reacted Wednesday night, and now Knicks learning that he won't be with them for at least 2 weeks. Usually, when a team says a player is going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, that doesn't mean that player is going to take the court at the 2-week mark. It usually means a player is going to get cleared for contact at that point, and then player takes some contact in practice.
So that's one thing that we need to pay close attention to. It's not even a total of 2 weeks that he's out. They're talking about 2 weeks. In another 2 weeks, he's going to be reevaluated. So there's a chance that in another 2 weeks that he's not fully healed. He's not ready to go. And if we're talking about an extended time off, 3 weeks, possibly 4 weeks, we're talking about him possibly not just missing the first few games of the first round. We're talking about him possibly missing the first round altogether. Now, if he's going to miss the first round, then these games right now are very important because if there's not going to be any expectation of Julius Randle being in the mix against the Cavaliers, who are, again, the team that we're expected to face in the first round, then obviously these guys need to get revved up. They need to get reps together. They need to get ready because there's not going to be any depending on Randle. They're going to have to figure out things on their own, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Let's continue on.
Sees how the player reacts to that contact in practice and then maybe gets cleared to play. So you're looking at least a few days after that 2-week mark for Julius Randle based on the current timeline, and the playoffs start 2 days after that 2-week mark. So it seems like it's unlikely that the Knicks would have Randle for the start of their first round playoff series. And what does that mean from here? Well, it means a bigger role probably for Obi Toppin. And we also saw against the Heat, the Knicks use a lineup with RJ Barrett, Josh Hart, Isaiah Hartenstein, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly. That lineup, first minutes for that.
Now, just one point, Tibbs mentioned that he's interested in a mixture of, for Randle's replacement, Obi Toppin obviously being the next man up, but he's also thinking about throwing Josh Hart in at some power forward minutes. Now, I love Josh Hart. I think he can fit in anywhere on the court, any given time, any moment of the game. But if we're talking about replacing Julius Randle with Josh Hart, come on, Tibbs. That is definitely a way for him to gaslight everyone into believing that Obi Toppin is not up for the job, because clearly without Julius Randle, again, the only reason why Obi Toppin, according to most fans, is not getting any play is obviously because he has Julius Randle in front of him. But if you're talking about Julius Randle not being a factor, there's no other way that we should be talking about a possibility of Obi or Josh Hart getting that starting rotation spot in the power forward. Give me a break. But anyway, let's hear a little bit more about what Ian has to say.
Lineup all year, played really well, played the entire fourth quarter, held Miami to 16 points, was key in that Knicks win, so maybe you see more of that. Tom Thibodeau said Wednesday night that you need multiple people to replace Julius Randle, a guy who's giving you 25 and 10. It takes more than just one person to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was, alluding to earlier in the video, that, there's no denying the production that Julius Randle has given us and gives us on a night in to night out basis. But, in terms of replacing his production, I think that's something that's not necessarily a tall order, because we have a lot of depth on this team. And if all of a sudden, again, you remove a guy who is very ISO heavy, that's going to allow other players to be given the opportunity to thrive. And that's going to give specifically, again, Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett a fair shot. Now, I've been doing a lot of talking about Obi because obviously this is a direct, thing against Obi Toppin, the fact that Julius Randle is holding Obi Toppin back. But Julius, in my opinion, is also holding RJ back. Now, obviously, when you think of the Knicks trio, you have Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett, by default, is the third option. Jalen Brunson has arguably been the best player on the team this entire season, despite the fact that Julius Randle has been an all-star this season. So Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are the definite number 1 and 2 options, which leaves RJ Barrett at a distant third. Now, if you remove Julius Randle from the equation, that all of a sudden gives RJ the clearance to be either the first or second option scoring-wise. And we're going to see hopefully we'll see a different version of RJ, given the fact that he'll have more of a green light to, be more productive on the offensive end. One other thing that I wanted to take a look at for a moment, and this is something that a lot of Knicks fans have been clamoring for ever since these guys came on the team, was the fact that we never really got to see a lineup of most of our draft picks. And, with the exception of Jalen Brunson last night, we had a whole rotation of guys that we drafted. And this is what we've all been waiting for, to see these guys in a moment where they can play meaningful basketball with the same guys that we've selected from the draft. Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Quentin Grimes, throw quickly in that equation as well, if you're not talking about having Jalen Brunson in the mix. But this is what we've been waiting for, and this is what we've been wanting to see. And I truly believe these guys at this moment in time are ready to turn it on at the very right moment. And they'll need to if we're expected to beat the Cavaliers in the first round of the playoffs. Now, again, talking about Obi's production, in 20 minutes against the Rockets, 15 points, 3 threes, 1 block. So we know what Obi Toppin is capable of. It's just a matter of him getting a fair shot. And it looks like going forward for at least these next 2 or 3 weeks, he's going to have a fair opportunity to showcase his abilities and talents. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, in the offseason. Obviously, I think we all know that it's overdue that the Knicks organization has to make a decision in terms of, are they going to keep Randle or trade him? Are they going to keep Obi or trade him? And this is Obi's chance. This is his last opportunity, I truly believe, to prove himself amongst the Knicks organization and into considering the idea of keeping him. Now, if we're talking about keeping Obi Toppin, obviously that means that's like a direct correlation in terms of trading Julius Randle. And, to be honest with you guys, I took a hiatus from covering this team solely based on the fact that I was completely disgusted with Randle's behavior A couple of weeks ago, the whole situation, him going against Emmanuel quickly. I made videos about his previous behavior, that game against, I believe it was the Denver Nuggets, him losing his mind. So I just needed a break away from this team, specifically away from Julius Randle. But, again, without Julius Randle being in the equation, is going to make this team look completely different, a little bit more team-centric. One other thing is, with Obi being in the mix now, Obi is used to running in a, motion offense, everything fast-paced and a run-and-gun situation because he's a rim runner, run-and-gun player. And, looking at this motion right here from this game against the Heat, you can see very clearly that the floor of the offense runs a lot smoother when you have the ball running around, swinging from left to right. Julius Randle obviously not being, at the epicenter of the offense, basically jacking up shots. And this is basically what can be replicated. Now, I believe that this may be an advantage for the Knicks, the fact that Julius Randle is out, because most teams know how to defend the Knicks, right? You throw the double team at Julius, and 9 times out of 10, he's going to do something stupid, make a stupid decision, and turn the ball over. Now, if you're talking about all of a sudden a team having to prepare for a Knicks team that has no Julius Randle, they're not going to know where they're going to have to put most of their pressure on, because the ball, anyone can light you up. Most of these guys on this team are, decent to good three-point shooters. So all of a sudden you go from a defensive scheme to let's just, put some pressure on this guy and good things will happen to us. So all of a sudden we don't know who we're going to have to put a man against. Forget double team. We're going to have to play man-to-man or some form of a zone in order to contain these guys. So we may throw a lot of teams off for the next few games. And, obviously the Cavaliers, who I expect us to play in the first round, you saw what we did to them last game. I believe at this point we have the season series against them, and we match up pretty well against them. Now, those guys are locked and loaded, but I believe the Knicks have a legitimate chance of, obviously making it a competitive series, but I believe they will come out on front if they play their cards right. But, all in all, I believe that Julius Randle going out is a blessing in disguise. I believe that given the fact that we have a lot of depth on this team and all they have is each other, there's no one isolation guy that's going to, warrant possessions on a possession-to-possession basis. You're going to have a lot of flexibility out there. And I'm excited to see what this Knicks team can bring. I'm hoping that Obi can really turn it on for these next 2 or 3 weeks, regardless of if that creates a lane for him to continue being a New York Knick, or if that opens up a lane for him as a free agent to get a contract with another team and be in a much better situation. But I don't look at Julius Randle's injury as a sort of a truly bad thing for this team. I look at it as a wonderful opportunity for our players to galvanize around each other. And one other thing that I don't think people may really understand or take a look at, when Julius Randle comes back to this team, let's say he's out 3 weeks, right? Let's say he's out the first few games of the first round, and he comes back to the team. If he changes, if he does anything stupid to ruin the team chemistry, to ruin the team flow of the offense, then it's going to be a nightmare for him with the fans, because we're going to go from everyone being comfortable with each other, team-centric offense, everything flowing, everything moving smoothly, so all of a sudden us being a heavily dependent ISO team on his production. I don't think that's going to work out for him. And if he doesn't play his cards right, I believe that the Knicks organization may be forced to have to make a decision on moving him, because if you have Obi, who is going to be on a much better contract next year, right, in the following years to come, and you have a success in the team around Obi with Jalen Brunson being out there, then that's going to be some questions that you're going to have to really think about and answer, because we were supposed to have this whole situation figured out already, right? At this point, we're not even supposed to have Julius Randle and Obi Toppin on the same team situation. One of those guys should have been moved already. So it's been overdue. And I think what we're going to see for the next 3 weeks is going to increase Obi's value and make the Knicks organization really have to evaluate on which direction that they're going to go in. Are they going to continue to roll out with Julius Randle being the focal point of the team and just, deal with his, erratic, irrational, childish behavior from time to time? Or are they going to make a gamble and say, hey, we have a young guy in Obi who can almost replicate Julius Randle's production and have a more team-centric offense surrounded around run and gun offense and, give and go team play centric motion offenses. So we're going to see what happens, guys. The playoffs is right around the corner. I believe it begins April 15th, which is a couple of weeks from now. We are expected to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't believe that the Knicks are going to move out of the 5 seed at this point. I think we have that pretty much locked. Obviously, Cleveland has clinched the 4 seed. So it's only a matter of time. It's a collision course of inevitability. And I am of high spirits that the Knicks can win this series against the Cavaliers without Julius Randle. But let me know what you guys think in the chat box. Let me know if you believe that the Knicks can be successful without Julius Randle. Do you think that this is a blessing in disguise, as I mentioned? Or do you think that the Knicks have no chance without Julius and we're just fooling ourselves if we believe that Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett can, replace his production and carry us into victories and have some success in the playoffs? But that's going to be all for the video, guys. Catch you on the rebound. Peace.